Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1158A, and today's date is December 21st, 2016, and the title of the episode is, The Setup is Complete. The Elite have the go-ahead to bring down the economy. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we can see that the central banks, the elite, they've been trying very, very hard to get the stock market above 20,000 points. This is their goal. And that is another signal that they're preparing to bring down this economy. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later in this report. But what we're seeing right now are there are so many indicators that are flashing red, letting us know that the economy is dead in the water. And the only thing that's keeping it propped up is the illusion. And once the illusion dissipates, people are going to see the real economy. I mean, right now, coming from the Government Accountability Office, they released a new report. The federal government is now garnishing Social Security benefits to help cover student loan payments owed by baby boomers. Coming out of the Wall Street Journal, a total of $1.1 billion has been garnished since 2001, with $171 million being collected in 2015 alone. Well, if all these individuals who have graduated college and those who are coming out of college with these incredible jobs with the unemployment at 4.6%, why can't they just pay their student loans? What's the problem? Well, the problem is that individuals can't find jobs. The problem is these high-paying jobs, they don't exist. Yes, there are a few here and there, but for the majority of the people, they can't find them. They're going for part-time jobs, and they're barely making it. And what happens is that high student loan, that payment that shows up every month, well, they just can't do it. This is why the government stepped in and said, listen, we'll adjust the payments according to what you're making. And we'll spread it out maybe 20, 25 years. Why would they do that if everything is fine? If people have no problem getting jobs, people making good salaries, why in the world would you need to do this? The only reason is because all of that is fake. It's an illusion. There aren't good jobs. This is why we're turning into a part-time nation. We're seeing more and more full-time jobs completely disappear. And more people are taking on part-time jobs as they're laid off. Think about this for a second. During this incredible recovery since 2008, we see right now that young adults are living home with mom and dad right now. Just under 40% millennials are barely shy of the all-time record, which was set in 1940 at the end of the Great Depression, where back then it was 40.9%. We're at 40%. Again, if unemployment is at 4.6%, they're telling us we're in this incredible recovery, that everything is great. Why then are individuals living at home? Those who are coming out of college, why can't they find jobs? Because, once again, it's not what it seems. And we can see right now that this is what happened after the Depression. They're telling us we're in a recovery. Well, everything that we've been looking at, we know we're in a recession. What happens when this economy fails completely? That number, 40%, it's going to look more like 70%. Because we know right off the bat, jobs are going to completely disappear. And we see right now that things are not getting better. We're going to that area where we were in 2008, where economic indicators are showing that we're in a recession. People right now are just trying to get by. They're using their credit cards. And we see right now that Americans, they're going to exceed the amount of credit card debt they racked up during the Great Recession. So we have the young adults living with mom and dad, and at the end of the Great Recession, it was at 40.9%. We're at 40% right now. They can't pay their student loans, and Americans have used their credit cards and racked up the same amount of debt that they did during the Great Recession. Right now, the average household debt is about $16,061, up 10% from $14,546 10 years ago, and $15,762 last year. And this is coming from an analysis from the Federal Reserve, Bank of New York, and the U.S. Census Bureau data. The total debt, including mortgages, auto loans, student loans, is expected to surpass the amounts owed at the beginning of the Great Recession by the end of 2016. And we can see right now that the amount of total household debt is $12.4 trillion. In 2010, it was at $11.7 trillion. We're heading back to the same exact problems. Why is credit card debt moving up? Because people are having a very difficult time surviving. They're not making enough money with their part-time jobs. Remember, when you have a full-time job, you have a certain way of life. You have your car payment, you have your house payment, you have your other monthly payments. And when you lose that job and you can't find the job making the same amount of money, and you take a part-time job or the same type of job making less money, you have problems affording all of these things. Now, yes, you can cut down on Netflix. You can get rid of that. You can get rid of Amazon Prime. You can get rid of that. But the water bill stays. The electric bill stays. If you're living in a house, the mortgage stays. If you have cars that you're financing or leasing, those payments stay. Insurance stays. Health insurance stays. And it becomes very, very difficult to get through all of this. And this is what people are finding out right now. Today in the corporate media, they're out there pushing the idea that existing home sales, well, they're surging like we've never seen before, which is strange because mortgage rates are increasing. Mortgage applications have declined quite a bit, but existing home sales aren't increasing. Now, one explanation is that, well, they only look at 20 cities, and they look at this and they say, okay, let's see what's happening in this area. And of course, they do have hedge fund investment companies out there purchasing homes to create this type of information. But when we look outside of the 20 cities, what do we see? We see houses on the market for a very long time. And people are lowering their prices. $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. Houses are on the market 8, 9 months. The other explanation is people are saying, okay, I see the interest rates rising. Let me just lock in where I am and purchase this house before rates go up once again. Now, these are the two arguments. I'm going to go with the first one because right now I know from looking at the data that when interest rates moved up, mortgage applications declined quite a bit, and it kicked many individuals out of the market, millions of people. So what I'm seeing here right now is they're manipulating these numbers, looking at the 20 cities, and just looking at that only. We see out in Europe, well, the Italian banks, they are in big trouble. It looks like the government in Italy, they're going to be stepping in. Looks like they're going to be using about 20 billion euros to bail out some of the junior bondholders. And we can see this is not enough because the bank needs about 360 billion euros, and the government is throwing 20 billion at the problem. It doesn't really seem like it's enough. And what we're seeing is Italy most likely is going to nationalize Monte dei Paschi, and instead of taking a small stake in the bank, where they thought maybe 10% or so, well, it's going to be between 50 and 70% of the bank. Now, the corporate media, the central banks, and everyone around the country, they're looking at the stock market. This is where they want everyone to look. They want them to look at the stock market because To them, this shows how the economy is doing, and we know that this has nothing to do with the economy whatsoever. And we can see that they want this to reach 20,000 points. That is their goal. And I want to go back in time here a little bit. About 44 years ago, when the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above the 1,000 mark for the first time in history. It finished around 1,003, and people were celebrating. Brokers were waving like fans at a football game, and everything seemed fantastic. Wow! It finally hit 1,000 points. And when we look at this and we go back in time even further to 1929, when the stock market hit 400 points back then, people were celebrating once again. But you know what happened after it hit 1,000 points? 9 months later, the U.S. entered a recession. The stock market plunged over 44%. So it hit a high of 1,000, and it was almost cut in half with a snap of a finger. What are we seeing today? The drive to put this up over 20,000 seems very similar to me. What do you think is going to happen in the next couple of months? Do you really think that this is going to continually move up and up and up? No. What's happening here is they're setting this economy up. This has been planned. The scapegoat is Trump right now. It didn't matter who was going to be president because they had plans to bring it down no matter what. It all depended on how they were going to bring it down. But now they have a plan because they know that Trump is going to enter the White House. And they're most likely going to push the stock market up above 20,000 points, most likely before the new year. And as we move into 2017, this whole thing is completely set up to come crashing down. And with a snap of a finger, the market could come down 44%, 50%. What do you think will happen during this period when this happens? Well, companies are going to be laying off like crazy. They're not making profits now, but that will be the signal to say, okay, we don't need to keep these people. Mass layoffs. The real estate industry, dead in the water. Everything that we've seen, the illusion, disappears. And what do we see? We see the real economy. We see what they were hiding all this time. We've seen it already. We already know. We already know from all the economic indicators from each sector what has been happening. It's almost like in 2008, where we had this illusion, and underneath the illusion were the subprime securities, what they were really all about, what was really going on in the real estate market, the real problems with AIG, Bear Stearns, Lehman, the banking system. And once the illusion completely disappeared, you saw all of this. The same thing is going to happen. This has been a complete setup. They have the green light. They have the go-ahead. And most likely, from what we are seeing and from the indicators, they're ready, they're eager to crash this system. Of course, the blame will not be on the central bank. It will not be on Obama. It will be on Trump. The plan is set. The system is coming down. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.